budget discussion is going to be somewhat limited. Again, we need as many of our folks here as we can. We're still waiting to get our funding total from the city, so our hands are kind of tied on the final budget. Is there anything, Melinda, that you do want to talk about at this point?
Just a few things. So, and then Rebecca might have a few things to add. Our enrollment remains steady. Another count was taken on day 128, which was Monday at 988, and we are doing that big ADM report at the end of the month, so we have maintained a steady enrollment. We'll have to see what that averages out to. As we've talked in the past, and we had a presentation from the athletic department at CHS, a board meeting or two ago. This is information that I received today about the cost of officials over the course of one academic year, and that was something I think the board had wanted to possibly consider as something to possibly add into the budget.
Okay. You got say one more. Yeah. Okay.
So the amount there for one academic year, starting with the golf team and ending with soccer, softball, and baseball, and football equipment that needs to be reconditioned, it is $37,744.61 for an entire academic year. This is just the cost. It's not what money they've brought in. But the officials for a typical year with the cost and the dues that are required by the Virginia High School League and the region is about $32,000. So just wanted you to have that document to review. And behind the paper clip is the invoice of the cost of each sporting event and the athletic cost for officials and other things. This does not include the travel that the school division, does for our athletes, but it is the cost. So the cost, some of them, football officials, if you have a JV team this year, which we are hoping we will, we'll have about another $1,500 to pay in officials. The volleyball officials went up $1,000 in 1 year. The basketball officials went up $1,000 in 1 year. The softball and baseball officials cost about $9,000, and the soccer expenditures are about $2,000. So it costs a good amount of money to run an athletic program for our schools and our students, athletes, and it's very, very well deserved and well needed. Any questions about that document?
And the one possibility, Tanya, we'll look at just an additional amount for what portion of this we can cover. If we can help them out. We talked about trying to do that some. Whether we can do the full amount is going to be a tough issue. But again, until we get some definitive numbers, it's going to be tough to know how much money that we can put into it. So we'll put some planning towards that.
Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, Rebecca and I are going to have a conference call with Paul Raskoff from the Virginia Department of Education, who is the sponsor or the driving force behind the regional special ed programs, and he will give us more information on how we can use that money, how we spend that money, how we target the students that can be allocated for that money. There is money in this year's budget already for that regional special ed program, and then there's money in the next year's budget from the governor for this regional special ed program. So we do not have, this is the first conversation we've had with the Department of Ed since the grants were awarded or the programs were updated. So that's another piece of information. We need to develop a proper budget for the school year. And Rebecca, there's information that she's already put on your table.
Yeah, I've left on your table just the most recent information that I have on our budget. As you know, budget numbers are ever changing. We had some retirements just this week, and those have not been included in any of these figures. But there's a sheet like this, the first sheet, cover sheet, I think you're laying that, it sort of explains major things that are included in the budget, and that is step increases for all eligible staff. Now, we do have people at the top of the scale and at the bottom of the scale who are not eligible for step increases, but step increases for all eligible staff is included, and fringes for those step increases. A 5.9% increase in health care, and that's sharing that cost with the employee. That means the employee share increase is 5.9%, the employer share increase is 5.9%. So employees will see an increase in their health insurance premiums. A literacy coach position at Edgemont, and we're hoping that the majority of this cost can be funded with Title I. I don't know that all of it can be, but we're hoping that the majority of it can be. There are a total of 4 new teacher positions in the budget. There's a CT position to be shared with CHS and Judah Watson. There's a special ed teacher position at Judah Watson, and there's 2 new teacher positions at Edgemont. And you can see the cost of a teacher position can vary between $60,000 and $70,000 depending on what healthcare plan that teacher would need. There's an increase in the guidance position at Edgemont to full-time. There's an accounting clerk position. There's a CHS instructional aid position. This is a position that we had, I guess, the year before last, and we did not fill last year when that person actually died. But we are putting that position back into the budget. We're increasing the part-time nurses to full-time and also putting them on a higher pay scale. And there are 2 retirements in this budget that I'm presenting tonight. But as I said, we've had some clerical positions that I have not. It's sort of debatable about where to put those positions. When you fill them, well, then I probably need to have more discussion about that replacement cost of those positions. But that's what's in the budget that I have, and this budget sort of outlines that further. And I've left a column over here for the board members to sort of put what if they have a proposal. But it shows the actual for 2016 for 2017-18. It shows our approved budget for the current year, our actual expenditures through February for the current year, and then the proposed budget for next year. So I did go through and increase some line items that I had not increased previously, such as instructional supply costs at all the schools, some travel costs, some electrical costs, all based on current year expenditures. But I just felt like there were some categories that woefully needed to be increased, so I did that. It does include the latest figures from JRTC. I think our expenditure costs went up there by about $14,000 based on enrollment.
Which is a good thing.
So I'll be happy to entertain any question. And then this sheet gives like a more detailed breakdown of what's included in every line item.
So this budget is based on level funding from city last year. Now that level funding figure is not the first level funding figure we started with. It's the second level funding figure that our year ended after we've been told to cut one amount of money and then to cut a second amount of money. So that's what we based this budget on, correct? So we still don't have any information from the city yet. I was told that we could move forward with our budget as we needed to, and then they could discuss further with when they finalize their budget. But the Code of Virginia does say we have to give a budget to them by April 1. So we have another meeting scheduled for Monday night. It's also scheduled as a public hearing. I've offered to meet with the city manager, and I think he and Mr. Bryan have been busy trying to figure out the city expenditures. And after Monday night, and you all look at these documents, and please, if you have any questions about how we move forward with the presentation for the 1920 budget, we will be trying, or we must finalize that Monday night and have it ready for Thursday night, the 28th, another budget meeting, and submit it, I guess, the next day or a couple of days later.
And as I do look at this budget at this point, we are short
Yes.
with this. So that's where you're on that, Tanya, to see. So with this projected budget, we don't have quite enough money to make that happen either. The other thing that we are missing is the hopes and expectations that we could be putting some money aside towards the fund balance for capital improvements and such. So we're basically spending everything we have and a little bit more if we were to do this.
That is correct.
Right. So we still need to do some tweaking
Absolutely.
if this is a budget. If this is a budget we go with, we're going to have to work on that, and we still have
Absolutely.
uncertainty in the teacher positions as far as what those positions may cost us. And we won't know that until the
We
field.
won't know that until.
That's what I'm saying, we won't know that till
we
the
won't
field.
have that
So
information.
as I mentioned, uncertainties, that's going to be an uncertainty. Yeah, we just won't know that.
And we have posted the positions and as potential vacancies on our human resources pages. So there are postings for the positions that are now anticipated and what are actually with our retiree that we know about. So we're getting a few applications in. We'll start the interview process very soon.
What about our position here? I know
Our
we have some
position
interviews
here, we interviewed last week. We have had some discussion, and there is no final decision yet.
Okay.